Planet Vegeta. In the king's castle opens a mechanical door. Inside, we see several Saiyan babies incubating. One in particular that looks rather familiar. The entering Saiyan is a familiar face as well. For those that don't recognize him, it's the Saiyan that went with Paragus to Planet Vampa, the Saiyan known as Beats. Pushing a button, he begins to drain the pod. Removing him from the chamber, he holds him close. An unknown figure says now is the perfect time. Let's start the next step. As it appears they plan to send the infant off the planet. How could this happen? Let's finish this. Flashing back, the unknown assailant says they've had quite a few anomalous readings lately, but his are conclusive. Who knows what King Vegeta would do if he found out? It just looks bad on me. I can't risk it. It's embarrassing. A power level of 0? How is that possible? We will send him off in a pod tonight. You can pick the destination if you want, but that's the end of it. His partner just tells him to be careful as he picks up the pod and leaves the area. Finding a convoy of pods ready for launch, he sneaks his son into one of the empty slots. Yet again, we see a familiar face. Commandeers the vehicle and heads to the dockyard. Without wasting any time being incognito, he comes rushing in and tells them to get these pods ready to launch. As the others set him up, he himself runs to the computer to set up the command. One by one, the pods take to the air as Beats says one final goodbye to his son. Any life is better than this one. He's much better off. I better get back to work. As he turns around, opening the door to his ship, Paragus comes rushing in. Unbeknownst to him, his son's pod would find itself at a time vortex. Present day. Taima opens his eyes asking what happened. Riki tells him a lot has happened. Brood was taken from the arena, healed, and put in charge of training members of Noob's army. When Taima asks why, Riki says that traders of Noob's returned from the docks to tell him that a magical barrier had been put in the middle of the Nile, and it starts right at the entrance of the Fountain of the Gods. When asking about his mother, unfortunately, his companion doesn't know. Riki furthers by saying that war is upon them, and he's afraid that his future looks grim, as he was contacted telepathically by Mirai, and he was asked to teleport Taima directly to him. You can do that? Then why haven't you escaped? And Riki says unfortunately for him, teleporting himself in key form is a lot harder and a lot more dangerous. He helped Brood escape the night that Taima was attacking the city in his Ozoro form, and he could have helped him the entire time, but refused on the right that it would endanger his family. But Taima's concerned that if he leaves, who's left for Riki? Who tells him not to worry about that. For now, Taima needs to be the one getting out of here. Riki will worry about himself later. He tells Taima to close his eyes, and when he opens them, he's in a room with Mirai, who's looking a little more mortal since the last time we saw him. At the Island of the Gods, Mirai comments how Taima has grown. What happened to you? Mirai explains that he stopped drinking from the fountain because he decided it must be inevitably destroyed. That's also why he has that cane. Genzai didn't like the idea very much. So why am I here?
That is a very good question.
Mirai goes on to tell Taima the day he arrived on this planet was the last day his brother had visited the island himself. Now, he simply sends his people to fetch his water to avoid him. The technology his people use is a more primitive form of his own technology in the city of Zoo. Noob's pyramids require labor due to the use of batteries. He could change that, but he chooses not to, instead choosing to abuse his people. Mirai has voiced many concerns, but he always says his people are strong due to his rule. But in reality, Noob is just power-hungry and a master manipulator, also saying that nothing in Taima's life has been a coincidence. What do you mean?
Every day, the Pharaoh has been manipulating every aspect of your life. Every event had a purpose.
The day Taima arrived on this planet, Mirai and Noob had a meeting and drank from the fountain, and Mirai had the strongest vision furthest into the future he has ever had. He saw the gods of the future, and amongst them were descendants of the Pharaoh. Not one, but two of the Pharaoh's people were gods, and not just any gods, gods of destruction. But Mirai only informed him of one. A god of destruction? In fact, the previous population of this planet had also seen visions of a god of destruction. Genzai, who is obsessed with the idea, has all of his culture based around the ancient civilizations of this planet's understanding of a god of destruction. That's why hearing that one of his descendants would become one sent him into a panic, because he believed he would inevitably be dethroned and defeated. What does this have to do with me?
You were the answer.
Essentially arriving on the Pharaoh's doorstep that day, Genzai saw the potential Taima had to save him from his own fate. Every day Taima spent working was to make him stronger, and then sending him to fetch the water from the live stream was merely a test of his loyalty, and the day he was destined to be locked away with Brood. Genzai knew exactly what would happen, and he's been controlling every aspect of Taima's life in hopes he will be the one to defeat the one who will dethrone him. He believed until recently Taima could beat Brood. Wow, I don't know what to say. Wait, why Brood? He's not stronger than the Pharaoh. Mirai continues by saying the Pharaoh has grown weaker throughout the years. The effect of the water have dwindled, as the two of them were the first generation, and as such the strongest for a very long time, even without the effects of the water. But Brood, he was born with much more potential than the first generation, and his sons have limitless potential, and the Pharaoh is aware. The Pharaoh uses Brood as an example of how his rule has made his people strong, and he thought, until recently, without the God Water, he could not defeat Brood. TAIMA'S fight with Brood was a test for both of them on their hidden power and true potential. I'm sorry, but I still don't understand. Why me? What's so special about me? Mirai counters this question with another question. Does that really need to be asked? You have grown in power extremely fast throughout the years, and just when it seems that you've reached your limit, you somehow manage to break through to new heights. You are special, for more reasons than you know. The amount of ki you have dictates your power. Your ki grows as you fight someone stronger. I've noticed it, and so has the Pharaoh. And it also seems when you heal from a great injury, the limits of your power expand beyond its previous limit. The entire time you were imprisoned, I could feel your power growing and your limits breaking. And I'm sure the Pharaoh felt it as well. You seem to have the same limitless potential as Brood's sons. When the Pharaoh realized this, he sought to control your power to achieve his own ends. He will pay. He will pay for what he did to my mother. But Mirai tells Taima to rest assured your mother is fine. He was either bluffing or he knows he can use his mother against him. She's alive? I have to go get her. But Mirai stops him, saying that he's not ready. He has a lot to learn before he can defeat the Pharaoh, and besides, he needs his help. Unfortunately, he's not strong enough to destroy the Fountain of the Gods. He vows to prepare Taima for that battle ahead, but he must first learn the art of Hiki. What the heck is Hiki? Clarifying further, it's a form of magic that uses ki as an energy source in order to perform it. With Taima's limitless potential, Mirai is going to take him to his home, and by the time he returns to Alyaban, hopefully he'll be more than ready to take on the Pharaoh. Anything to save my mom. I'm ready. He then tells Taima to hold tight and he's gonna teleport them there.
Welcome to the city of Zoo. Wow.
Telling Taima to go and explore the city. Relax for today as you have much more to learn.
Let's formulate your character.
Hey, Taima, is that you? What are you doing here, Russo?
Well, it's a long story, but to make it short, my dad got locked up for taking up for the Thoth. They brought me here to been taking care of me. The only thing I have to remember him by is this sword. I think the better question is, what are you doing here? You've changed, like a lot. Like a lot. Like a lot. Huh? You're not going to turn into that monster again, are you?
Oh, what are you talking about?
He doesn't remember. Never mind, buddy. How about a drink?
Sure.
You know, Russo, I just want to thank you again for finding me that day. I would seriously be dead without you.
Well, to be honest with you, you should really be thanking Mirai. He's the one that sent me after you and told me where to find you.
What? Man, he's really something else.
Regardless, Russo, you were my first real friend. The first person to do anything for me besides my mom.
Wow, that really bites.
You know, I tried to make friends growing up. When I was little, I wasn't allowed to leave the house, only to work, and not at all during the days of darkness. But every once in a while, I would sneak out and follow these kids to a small oasis. They would all dare each other to jump in the water and fight. It looked fun. One day I decided to approach them, and they threw rocks at me until I eventually went home crying. The next day I did the same thing, and they would throw rocks at me again that they had brought with them just for that purpose. Every day I would show up and let them throw rocks at me, hoping eventually they would want to be my friends. But eventually my mom noticed and I couldn't sneak away anymore. My mom told me not to rush to judgment, that I didn't know what those kids had been through to make them that way. And that made me feel better. She was always good like that.
Wow, that's a really sad story. Nothing a little food and drink won't fix. And besides, you've got me now, so let's dig in.
Singing and drinking into the night, Russo eventually passes out.
Taima, now that you've had the chance to rest, it's time to get to work.
Right. Setting foot at the base of a pyramid is where this chapter ends.